Right everyone, WeaponCollector here. Right, this is an update on the UK offensive weapons bill that's been going through. And as of June the 20th, there has been an update. The bill has been finalised, I think, and I'm not 100% sure, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I think a bill has to be turned into an act before it's finished. So there's been an update saying the bill has been put through. I don't think it's finalised yet, but I would say, just to be careful, act like it is, act like it has gone through. So I'll tell you the things I think are important, and the things that will make a difference to most people, because some things like the acid stuff isn't going to affect most people. And the carry on knives on school premises, I think that's common sense anyway, So the things I've discussed before are the 19 offensive weapons that will be banned, the online knife sales, and the amendment to the definition of a flick knife. I'll go over that one first. So this is what they've changed it to. The definition of a flick knife is now any knife that can open automatically by pressure applied to a button, spring, or other device in or attached to the knife. So I would say that is going to cover any knife with a spring in it now, I think. So yeah, any knife with a spring in it that will automatically open will now be illegal to own. So if you've got anything like that, I would recommend surrendering it, taking the spring out. That'll make it alright, I assume. If you take the spring out of it, if you can't do that, get rid of it, because it'll be illegal to own now. So yeah, that's the flick knife stuff now. The offensive weapons is still going to be the 19 items, which I'll put a list up now. One thing they have said is they'll do surrender bins or something. There'll be a way to surrender these items, and also it does mention compensation. But I would say don't expect to get compensation on something you illegally imported into the country. I'm pretty sure they won't give you compensation for that. But if you've got something predating the dates, like a antique sword or something. Well, no, saying that, an antique sword isn't covered anyway. I'll explain that in a second. But you may have antique items in that prohibited offensive weapons list. You may be able to get compensation for those if they're old enough. What I was going to say about the swords was some swords are in it anyway. The definition for the swords is, I'll show you that as well, because I've got something that shows it slightly better this time. So one of the defences for the swords are, because it's curved 50cm blade, so if you've got a sword with a curved blade and it's under 50cm blade, that should be alright. If you've got a blade that's 50cm or longer and it's straight, that should be okay. If you've got a curved sword with a 50cm blade and it's antique, it should be okay. And the same again if it's handmade. So pretty much the only swords that are going to be illegal now are cheap, non-handmade curved swords. All the rest is covered. So what it says is, I'll show you that now. The defences for the curved sword is, it applies to swords with a curved blade 50cm over in length, including those commonly known as samurai swords. So not just samurai swords, but including those. But if they are made before 1954, it'll be alright. Or was made at any other time according to traditional methods of making a sword by hand. So that could have been made yesterday by hand. That says any other time. So that could have been made yesterday, as long as it's handmade and it's curved blade. You know, if it's a curved blade, it's still okay. Doesn't mention anything to do with straight swords. So straight swords should be alright, like a claymore. Yeah. If you need any more details about this, all of the information I'm speaking about will be below in the more info section. There's also a couple of other things like religious reasons, and same with all of the things on the offensive weapons list. There are some defences for owning them, which are things like functions carried out on behalf of the Crown or visiting forces, making weapons available for museums or galleries, theatrical performances, film production and TV production. If you can prove that you've got them for that reason, it's probably alright. So that's the offensive weapons. So the list is there. You don't want to own any of those things unless you can prove otherwise, like I said. But even antique offensive weapons, unless it's the swords, will be illegal now. And then we've got the online knife sales, which I'm still not 100% sure how this is going to work. It does seem like there may be some people who will still be able to sell knives. I'm not 100% sure, but some of the custom knife makers may still be able to sell their knives fine. Someone would have to read up more on that, but it does seem that way, that some knives will still be fine depending on what they are and who's selling them. Yeah, and I don't know whether we'll be able to get knives sent to the post office or not yet, so we may have to wait for that. So, as I said before, this was announced on June the 20th, yesterday. I don't know 100% if it's gone through yet. I think, like I said, I think a bill has to be turned into an act for it to be finalised. But to be safe, I would act like this has gone through now. So, just to go over it just again, the 19 weapons mentioned on the offensive weapons list will now be illegal to own, and we may not be able to buy knives online anymore. So that's it really, that's all I can say. The other things was just a couple of things that wouldn't affect other people anyway. Acid stuff, can't buy acid now, and you can't carry a knife in a school, which I couldn't believe you could anyway in the first place. You know what I mean? It's just a technicality. Yeah, so as far as I'm aware, that should be all the details you need to know for now. I would act like this has gone through if I was you. But when I find out again, when it's finally done, because I'm assuming it's going to be, I don't for a single second think it won't be, I'll let you know when this is fully done. But to be safe, act like this has gone through now, you know. You don't want to get caught out. Alright, I enjoyed the video. I hope you saw something helpful. You know what I mean? Before I go, if you ever want to support this channel, you can. I've got a Patreon account where you can join for $1 a month if you wanted to. There's also, I put affiliate links to GearBest and Amazon. If you shop at those websites through my links, I get something like 7 to 10% of what you spend at no cost to you, and that way you can support the channel. Okay? Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.